Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining this evening. As you can see, I am the one pinned. I am the one being recorded. Although your picture might be there, your name might be there, my editors, they cut that all out. It's just me. And I do this for the benefit of those that were not able to come live, but still need that support and want to gain the wisdom that I've curated over all of this time. So please do not be alarmed when you saw this is being recorded. Your privacy is the most important thing to me, and I want to assure you that you will not be recorded. You can feel free to ask a question in the chat if you'd like. You can feel free to come on screen if you'd like. Again, you will be cut out of the final edit that does get posted to my YouTube channel so that you are aware of it. What I do for the benefit of my editors is I usually repeat your question, so that they have the question that I am subsequently answering, and also that I get to hear it twice. So I make sure that I'm answering it in the best, most comprehensive way that I can. So we're just going to give it another moment or two. You'll keep noticing that I look up. I'm checking the chat, and I'm also checking those attempting to enter into the room. I am very selective. If I did not see your name on the RSVP, you're not getting in. So that's why I keep cross-checking it there. So I do want to get started just to respect everybody's time who was on time. And I just want to go over a couple of ground rules, tell you what we do here and why it's so beneficial to have you here with us. So first and foremost, I'm going to go over a couple of rules. First and foremost, no hate speech in the chat or coming on screen. It's unnecessary. It truly, truly is. And I want you to own your role. Yes, your role. If you are hurting, it's okay to say so. This is a safe space to be vulnerable, to say what you need to say. I just want you to own it. Keep in mind that there's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Betrayal is hard. It is the most gut-wrenching experience that we go through. Truly, truly is. I know that there's loss and there's grief and there's death. I get that. But sometimes we feel like the Walking Dead. We feel like our heart has been ripped out of our chest and we are just on autopilot. Again, the suggestions that I make here, that's what they are. They're suggestions. Are some of them tried and true? And I've worked with many clients to get through the process, not only through my own healing, but helping other clients get through by making these suggestions? Absolutely. But like the spaghetti you throw on the wall, some of it sticks and some of it doesn't. And if it feels icky to you and it's like, yeah, no, I'm not, yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So I am not the be all end all, but I have a lot of wisdom that I've curated over the years accordingly. So I share it with you. Take what you can use, toss the rest. That's it. I'm up for challenging, and I will, if you come on screen or you decide to ask a question or something in the chat, I will be gracious. I'll ask you if I can pull on that a little bit. And if you're comfortable, we will do so. And if you're not, that's fine too. The only way that I feel that I can engage with you and really help your situation is if I have a clear understanding of it. So I might need to ask clarifying questions. I will challenge you. And if you're not up for it, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. I just want you to know that that's where I come from. And I'm here to educate. I can't fix. And the reason that I can't fix is that you're not broken. I want to make sure that that is crystal clear. You are not broken. This is not your fault. It is absolutely not your fault. This is your partner's behavior, actions that did this. And though something terrible, terrible has happened to you, it wasn't about you. It truly, truly wasn't. And this was a concept that took me months to wrap my head around. It absolutely did. Now, a little bit about me so that you know where I'm coming from. Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, it feels like yesterday. my husband, who I fell madly, deeply, passionately in love with in middle school, he was my world. I was his world. And then he screwed up in middle school, like most teenage boys do. And we drifted apart. Well, I drifted away. He stayed still and he pursued me for 8 years afterwards, following me through high school and college, not stalkerish, but just always in the background, and became my best friend. And I truly appreciated that. Didn't push, the dating or anything of that nature, just was always there for me. He was my big teddy bear, and that's how I viewed him. And one day I was going through a terrible breakup, and he reached out and said, "Hey, listen, let me take you out, make you feel better." And I said, "Yeah, no, all right, sure." And he goes, "Wait a second. I need you to know that this is a date." And I was like, "A date? I don't want a date." You're my best friend, you're in the friend zone. I don't want a date. Well, he showed up for dinner looking very handsome. And that was it. I was smitten all over again. And we were married, dare I say, 9 weeks later, much to the horror of our family. And that was it. And we just grew into our lives. And we were what I thought was happily married for well over 20 years. We had our kids and we suffered through infertility and lots of challenges with death and things of that nature, as most couples do. I thought I had the epic life. I had checked off all the boxes. I was a C-suite executive. I had the career. I had the 2 kids. I had the car. I had the money in the bank. I was inoculated from anything terrible happening until that fateful day. We were in Central Park, the crispness in the air. I felt so good. We were walking and people watching and everything else. And he says, "Vanessa, hey, come sit down." And we sat down on a bench and he says, "I need to tell you something." And I turned to look at him and it's in slow motion. It's in slow motion now because time just slowed down. He says, "I've met someone." Ooh. What? I've met someone. And like Thanos in the Avenger movies, snapped his fingers and half of them turned to dust. That was me. I completely fell apart. And I subsequently turned into the most outrageous Karen you've ever met. You think the videos on YouTube of the Karens is bad. I have no idea how I wasn't arrested because I just unleashed. I unleashed like you would not believe. And I fell apart. I completely fell apart. And I couldn't even function. I was just a shell of myself. And I was so hurt and I was in so much pain. And I couldn't understand. And I had a zillion questions. And I remember distinctly being in our marriage counselor's office, screaming, screaming, not at my husband, but at the marriage counselor, going, "There's got to be a reason why I'm going through this. There's got to be a reason why I'm going through this because I can't be in this much pain without a purpose. There has to be a purpose of why I'm going through this." And I felt a nudge. I felt that little nudge saying, "Hey, go through it because you can help someone else." And that's when, because I had always been a perpetual student, I had a psychology degree. Come on. Why was this even happening to me? But I was a perpetual student and I dove into betrayal recovery. I wanted to know everything I possibly could about it. And I studied under the greats. Your Debbie Silber, your Michelle Mays, your Estelle Perel. You name the woman who handles betrayal recovery, and I've either been in her course or I have studied with her because I needed to know everything I possibly could about betrayal recovery, not only to heal myself, but to help someone else. And that's what I did. That's what I absolutely did. And my books that are on the back wall, somebody was so nice enough to do that for me. They were like, "You have this white wall behind you. Why don't you put something up there?" And I'm like, because I have the print of me. And I'm like, it's a little too in your face. And they're like, "Have the perfect thing. You'll get it in the mail in a couple of days." And there it is. So my books, They weren't designed to be an academic or a commercial success. Not at all. They were, and still are, the guidebooks that I needed. I wanted something to be able to read at night, desperate to fall asleep, that were quick and easy and not full of jargon and not full of scientific and religious undertones. I just wanted, give me 3 pages, tell me what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, and what I can do about it. And that was it. Very, very simple. If you can tell, I'm from New York. So not only do I speak fast, but I like conciseness. I like the opportunity. Tell me what's going on. Tell me that I'm not alone, that I'm not alone in how I feel. Let me let the other people in now that my assistant double checked them, how I feel and what I can do about it. So with that being said, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. Absolutely not. You have friends and family to tell you that. I will tell you straight. I will absolutely tell you straight based on my experience, those of my hundreds of clients that I've had over the years, as well as those in support groups that have shared their story. I'm also a moderator on one of the larger betrayal groups on Facebook, so I have that experience as well. I have several different certifications within the betrayal space, including the post-betrayal transformation certifications as well. I come with a lot of experience, but the experience is textbook. And yes, you can find anybody who's taking courses, but have you found somebody who's taken courses and has gone through the experience? Kind of similar to a gynecologist. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not going to go to a male gynecologist and have him tell me, oh yeah, your period cramps. I know what you feel like. Yeah, you do? Yeah, I don't think so. Same thing with betrayal recovery. Anything that you go through, it's really helpful to talk to somebody else who's gone through a similar experience. And then if they have the education on top of that, oh, they're golden. And that's what I needed. Because again, for me, when I went through betrayal, those first months, I was a shadow. I was on autopilot. And I thought because of my psychology degree, I could heal myself. I'd be fine. I'd figure it out. Yeah, no, not for me. As soon as I connected with those that have gone through the experience, that had the education, my healing opened up. And it did. And I can tell you this, that it's the 8th, in 12 days, my husband and I will be celebrating our 34th wedding anniversary. We made it through. It was a lot of hard work and it was a lot of heavy lifting on the part of my husband because I focused on me. He focused on himself and the marriage. I needed to focus on me because I fell apart in such a strong way that my reaction that day in Central Park, he was not prepared for. And because I raged, he shut down. And it wasn't until 7 months later in counseling that he finally gave up, that the reason that he told me this was that he was hoping that I would fight for him, that I would be inclined to want him back or something of that nature. And what he was trying to tell me, and he told me very poorly, because when you say those 3 words, I've met someone, there's no taking it back and there's no rhyme or reason to kind of get around it. And what he was trying to say was that he was getting the attention of another woman and he liked it, but didn't want to act on it. He wanted that attention from me. He realized that when this other woman was paying attention to him, he liked it, but not from her. He wanted it from me. But because we had been married for so long at that point and had kids in the house and everything else, all of our conversations were micromanaging our household. We had lost sight of each other. Just in the nuances of being married, we lost that intoxication of falling in love and being in love. And you have to keep in mind, we did it twice. We did it as kids, and then we did it again when we rekindled. And he was missing that. But then he got it from another woman who he wasn't interested in, but he liked the way it made him feel because she was caretaking his confidence. Yes, caretaking his confidence. He felt really good about himself. He started dressing a little better and all these things that I didn't see. Why didn't I see it? Because he'd never, but he did. And that was the problem. So we went through marriage counseling, and it was a lot of heavy lifting. It absolutely was, because again, as I said, I was the one that fell apart. I was the one that completely fell apart. But our topic for today has to deal with that in a way about shame and guilt, because those are two emotions that betrayal brings up for us, those that have been betrayed. We suddenly feel some guilt. What did I miss? Why didn't I see this? You know, all the suddenly red flags that we didn't see them before. There were white flags. There were no flags. They weren't even blowing in the wind. We didn't even see them. And suddenly after betrayal, we ruminate over those thoughts over and over and over again. What did I miss? What didn't I see? What did I see and ignore? And we go through it over and over and over again to the point where we feel guilty that we did something. And again, I'm here to tell you, nope, 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 nope. This is not your fault. This is absolutely not your fault. Their actions. And again, something terrible has happened to you, but it wasn't about you. It truly wasn't about you. And again, I know that's a hard concept to wrap our heads around. It truly is. But I can tell you this, when you do, when you're ready to, and you do, there's such a release. There is such a release. And what's released is guilt and shame. So what is the difference between the two? And you'll notice that I look down every once in a while, because to tell you I have so many notes around me, because I want to make sure that I give you as much information as I possibly can. So I apologize for when I look down, because I want you to know that I do see you. I do see you. I feel your hurt. I know that it's challenging, and I know it's really, really difficult, but we're going to do this together, because I've got you. I've got you. So let's talk about the difference between guilt and shame, because they are distinctly different. So guilt is that feeling, yeah, we know that feeling of remorse and responsibility for the specific action or behavior. Okay, that's the definition. It's perceived as being wrong or harmful, guilt. Okay, it's related to something one has done. Again, one has done. So it's an action that has been done. The guilt is a feeling of remorse and responsibility for a specific action or behavior. We feel guilty. Shame, on the other hand, is a deep-seated feeling of inadequacy, unworthiness, or humiliation about one's entire self. The entire self. And it's a sense of who they are, who you are. And we suddenly live in that shame. And sometimes what we do as the one who was betrayed, because our partner is filled with guilt and shame. Okay? 90% of the time, they have guilt and shame. They absolutely do. They have one or the other. Most times they have both. They have them both. They feel it and they react to it. Some ways in which they react to that shame and that guilt before before discovery day, they've done something and they're feeling that guilt and that shame. How do they bring it out? Okay. First and foremost, they're really, for lack of a better word, bitchy. They're just bitchy. They complain about everything. And suddenly it's just, because their guilt and shame is starting to eat at them from the inside. They become very private. Suddenly that phone, you can't get it out of their hands, boy. They are always with it. Yes, that's another sign. Guilt and shame reflect in that. Lack of sleep. Oh, big one. If your partner is not sleeping and complaining about not sleeping, you will associate their crankiness with lack of sleep. Meanwhile, their crankiness is because they feel shame and guilt, which is preventing them from sleeping, and they're going through this merry-go-round of cycling through. All right, so something to keep in mind as well. So that is the definitions of guilt and shame. They go hand in hand. What happens is, upon release of Discovery Day, they will have that shame and that guilt, but suddenly you take on some of it, if not all of it. Yes, suddenly you're full of shame because suddenly your sense of self is shattered. Your self-esteem goes right out the window. It absolutely does. We become so angry at ourselves for what we missed, what we didn't do, what we did do. We go through the gamut of emotions and scenarios in our head. And in a split second, we can have a whole movie play out in our head based on one little thing. And that's the shame that's talking to us, because suddenly we get all of those emotions, usually from our childhood. And the shame, just the humiliation, the unworthiness. What did I do to deserve this? Why is this happening to me? Oh, the agonizing questions we ask ourselves. So the shame and guilt, oh, it's very overwhelming. It truly is. Is it normal? Yes, it's absolutely normal. We all go through that step. We absolutely do. We take it on. We take it on because as women, specifically, no offense to the men, as women, we're so used to taking everything on. We're everything to everyone. We mold ourselves into the images that everybody else thinks we should be. We dress a certain way when we go to work because that's the norm of everybody around us and how they dress. We, what we wear, how we wear our hair. Heaven forbid you wear a pink streak into a boardroom because you're a C-suite executive. Yeah, that's me. Wasn't always me. This was after betrayal, because the first thing that I did was I chopped my hair. Absolutely. Why? Because I could control it. It was something drastic. And it was something that my husband loved because I had hair halfway down my back. And he loved my hair. He always loved my hair. And the second we came home from that day in Central Park, grabbed a hold of it, pulled it to one side. Now, if you're a hair salon, if you're a hairstylist, if you're a hairstylist, you know that this is the worst thing to do. I pulled it to one side, snipped it right to my shoulders. Now, when I let it go, of course, half of it's lopsided because I pulled it to the other side. I didn't care. I didn't care. I wanted to control something because I felt so out of control. So we want to distinguish guilt from shame. We talked about the differences, so I want to make sure that, again, guilt focuses on the actions and the behavior or the mistakes. I want to be careful with the word mistake, okay? Because mistake sounds like an excuse. There is no excuse for betrayal. There's absolutely no excuse for betrayal. If you're feeling a certain way in your relationship, you need to use this. You need to use your mouth, your words to express yourself, to say what's going on. And your partner needs to be receptive. That was my problem in my situation, was that I wasn't receptive. I heard it. I've met someone, and in my mind, in a millisecond, I had them walking down the aisle, having kids, house, cars, everything else. He was having it with someone else, not with me. And in a millisecond, I had that whole movie play out. I didn't know anything at that point, but my mind and that nasty chick voice on my shoulder went flying. So again, it's about the actions, behaviors, and mistakes. I use a little caution there with mistakes because, again, there's no excuse for betrayal. There absolutely is not. And often it has the feelings of regret, remorse, and a desire to make amends. And in my particular case, and those of many of my clients, their partners are remorseful. They do come forward with that. Might not be right away, because they're defending their ego, they're defending themselves, but they do come around to that where they do feel remorseful. So do keep that in mind. Shame, in contrast, centers on one's core identity with their self-worth. I couldn't look in a mirror for months. Not at all. I saw myself 20 years older than I actually was. I beat myself up relentlessly because, again, the movie in my mind had her completely different. She was a goddess, she a swimsuit model, the whole 9 yards. When in reality, it wasn't anything like that. But in my mind, oh boy, yes, very much so. So my self-worth, toilet, absolute toilet. Self-disgust, ooh, yes, yes, we go through that. We absolutely do. And again, all that I'm sharing with you, it happens. It's normal. And it's okay not to be okay. But just don't live there. You can rent for a while, but don't own it. Don't live in it forever or for any duration of time, completely unnecessary. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. Move through it. Don't move around it. Don't skirt under it or over it. You got to go through it. And it's tough and it's gut-wrenching. Absolutely, without a doubt. But you can do it. If I could do it, you can do it. Absolutely. So let's talk about how they interconnect between shame and guilt, how they interconnect with each other. So guilt actually leads to shame. When individuals internalize their guilt, I didn't see it. How come I didn't see it? So forth and so on. Viewing themselves as inherently bad or unworthy due to their actions. Something that you did or didn't do caused this to happen. No, 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 no. That is the furthest thing from the truth. I can tell you that. All the clients that I've worked with, all the clients that many of the greats have worked with, yeah, no. You're not responsible for somebody else's actions. You didn't hold a gun to their head and tell them to cheat. No, no, do not accept responsibility for that because it had nothing to do with you. It truly did not. You became collateral damage in their war against themselves. Very much so. Regrettably, I will say this. There are times when the betrayal happens because they're trying to get out. They want out and they want to do the most devastating thing that they can do that you will never forgive them for. Kind of similar if you've ever watched the Godfather movie. Yes, I'm going to go back to 1972. I'm going to show my age. I didn't see it in 72, but with that being said, so Corleone's wife wanted out. She saw what was going on in the family and she wanted out. And she knew that she couldn't get out unless she aborted his son. And when she told him that, she was out. She needed to do something so drastic for him to let her go. And sometimes in relationships that are already broken, already have challenges, where the spouse or the boyfriend has communicated in some way that they want out and it's not being heard or listened to, they will do an action to get out. It's not right. It's absolutely not an excuse. I advocate that you absolutely do not do that. Do not destroy somebody that way, because betrayal and betrayal recovery is gut-wrenching to go through, and it's completely unnecessary. Use your words. Absolutely use your words. And that's a question that I asked my husband during our counseling sessions, because when our therapist said it, sometimes men or women do this as a last resort to get out of a relationship that they're not happy in anymore, because it does happen. And I turned and looked right at my husband. I was like, is that what's going on? Did this action of yours, was it because, sorry, somebody else is knocking on the door. Is that because you want out? And in my particular case, he didn't want out. But sometimes that is. And that's a harsh reality that sometimes we need to face. And we have to have those difficult conversations with our partners and say, hey, listen, I know that I ask you a lot of questions about why. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? And you maybe you're skirting around the issue. Do you want out? Do you want out? So do keep that in mind. So, shame can intensify guilt. Shame can intensify guilt, making it more difficult to address the specific actions or the behaviors because the individual feels fundamentally flawed. Again, back to shame. Oh, shame is just horrific. And the problem is that you have this chatter going on in your head as well. Nasty chick voice, your inner critic. Oh, she's relentless and she goes after you. You think she's protecting you, but she's not. She's beating you down relentlessly. And you need to shut that down. 10 minutes a day, tell her to be quiet because suddenly she's out in full force. She absolutely is. And if you're a male, yeah, you've got your own. You've got the militant man that's just, maybe it's your father's voice. It's some voice that you have in your head that's also beating you down. It's hard. It absolutely is hard to tap that down, but you need to because truly not helping you. It's truly not helping you. So what I'd like to do is give you some suggestions on how to work through guilt and shame and how to break the cycle of it. So first things first, self-compassion. Yeah, you got to be gentle with yourself. You didn't do this. And again, I say it repeatedly, though something terrible has happened to you, it wasn't about you. It wasn't about you. You were the collateral damage in their war against themselves. So I want to make sure that that lands and that you feel that intensity on that because it's absolutely true. It absolutely is. And again, I know it's a hard concept to wrap our heads around, especially when we're in so much pain. The other, and this one's a tough one, so I'm going to let it sit for a little bit. I need you to forgive yourself. I know, really hard, really, really hard, especially if you're agonizing with the decision whether to stay or to go. Yeah, to stay or to go. For me, yes, I know I stayed, but a lot of clients I work with, they don't. And that's fine. It's absolutely fine because for me, in my position, it's inconsequential to me whether you stay or you go. My role is to get you to clarity so you can make that decision and you can live in that decision, that you don't constantly sway back and forth. I'm going to stay, oh, I'm going to go. Nope, I'm going to stay. I'm going to go. Because you don't want to live your life like a ping pong ball. You really don't. You want to live your life in peace with your own self-worth intact and reignite your self-love and your self-trust because those things are shattered. Yes, hey, your partner did this action and meanwhile you're shattered into a zillion pieces. I know, it's not fair. It's absolutely not fair. But once we get past that, Viktor Frankl said it best. And I want to quote it exactly the way it is. So let me grab it because it's on my desk because I look at it quite often. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And that is Viktor Frankl. He wrote this great book. You can see, I've read it several times, Man's Search for Meaning. He's a Holocaust survivor. He was in Auschwitz. And this is a fascinating book. It absolutely is. That if he could find the purpose of why he was in the situation that he was in, it's a difficult book to read. I'm letting you know that right out of the gate. But again, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And betrayal, yeah, that'll do it. That'll absolutely do it. You will be challenged to change yourself. And it might not seem fair. And it might seem just, why is this happening? I get that. But it's already happened. We can't change the past. We can't change it at all. We have to stay in the present and we have to look ahead to the future. Not live in the future, because we're not living there yet. We need to live in the present and we need to be comfortable in the present. So definitely self-compassion and self-forgiveness. Do need to forgive yourself. Seek support. You're here. That's a big step. It's a really big step. And I'm ridiculously proud of you for doing that. Because as I mentioned early on, it took me months to ask for help. It took me months. I thought I was strong enough. I had a degree, for Christ's sake. Why? Why was I suffering? Why couldn't I get through this? Yes, you need support. You need to know that you are not alone. You are absolutely not alone. You'll feel alone, but you're not alone. There are others of us that have walked this path. And we're here to let you know there's beauty on the other side. There truly, truly is. Ah, I can tell you that. I love who I am now. I absolutely love looking in the mirror. I love interacting with people. I love telling people what I do because it's always very interesting when I introduce myself. Yes, I'm a betrayal recovery specialist. And I get the quizzical look like, what? And I'm like, yes, I help people get through betrayal, whether that's intimate partner betrayal, whether that's self-sabotage because we betray ourselves, or betrayal in business. Yeah, we've had that coworker that's taken our idea. Some of us hold on that grudge for a long, long time and allow it to eat us up. Yeah. So seeking support. So I'm proud of you for doing so. The other thing, another strategy, and this one's a difficult one, but you can do it. You can absolutely do it, is to reframe the negative thoughts that you have. And that involves tapping down that nasty chick voice that you've got on your shoulder and reframing and seeing things for exactly what they are, not the movies that went on in your mind. The next one is to set healthy boundaries. Yeah, you've heard a lot about boundaries. Now, boundaries aren't about them. They're about you. What are you going to do if XYZ happens? That's a key point. It's what your actions are going to be because you only control your own actions. You don't control your partner. If you did, this wouldn't have happened. We don't control other people. We don't. We only have control over ourselves. And the last and final thing, and then I'm going to stop talking and allow everybody to ask a question because I haven't seen anything light up in the chat. The last one is to focus on you. Focus on your personal growth. When I shifted the attention off of my husband and our marriage and focused on me, everything shifted. It did. Focus on you. Truly do. And the fact that you're seeking help, yeah, that's great. Absolutely great. Without a doubt, that is great. Continue to focus on yourself. What do you enjoy? Yeah, you might need to dig deep, especially if you've been married for a long time and have children and whatnot. Your identity is wrapped up in being so-and-so's mother. We all know it. PTA means, oh yeah, you're so-and-so's mother. I have my own name, type of thing. So sometimes we have a chuckle about it, but in reality, the most beautiful word in the English language, do you know what it is? The most beautiful word in the English language is our own name. Oh, you hear somebody say your name, they might not be talking to you. They might not be looking for you, but they've said your name. You perk up. Ooh, there's another one of us. Yeah, absolutely. Though you're unique in and of yourself. The second most beautiful word in the English language are your children's names. Yes. We love our children's names. We selected them and they're going to go through their life with that name. Oh, it's so beautiful. It absolutely is. So focus on yourself. You might need to dig deep into the past and find the things that you love to do. It might be listening to 80s rock in your car by yourself on the loudest volume you could get it and singing along because you know all the words. Oh, yes, you might find enjoyment in that. Great. Absolutely. There might be other things that you enjoy. Do those. Rekindle being with yourself and enjoy yourself. So those are the 5 strategies related to overcoming guilt and shame related to betrayal. So I hope that you have found that helpful in some regard. Again, some of the things might stick and you might be like, yeah, no, I like that. And other things are like, you know what, I'm not ready for that. Or, nah, that's not me. That's fine. You take what you can use and you absolutely toss the rest. So I open up the floor if anybody wants to ask a question of me, either related to the topic of guilt or shame, or anything else that you would like to chat about. I'd be open to that for the last 20 minutes, as promised.
I found you on Meetups, but I would like to know how often are or do I just follow the page to see how often are your Zooms or your meetings?
What I do on Meetup is this group meets once a month. I also have another on Meetup, but that is a paid um, meeting because it's handled very differently. And I do that also. That's every other week. Again, depending on participation and the types of questions, comments, concerns that I get, I'd be more than happy to do this more often. But for the moment, on the Meetup platform, I do meet monthly for this group. And
Okay.
if you need more, by all means, reach out to me. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm on all of the socials. You can absolutely find me as well. So you can follow me along. And because you're part of the meetup group, I do send out emails. They're twice a week. I don't flood your emails with nonsense. Again, I remember when I went through betrayal, there weren't very many who were even remotely in the healing space, let alone finding somebody specific to betrayal. But now you can find more people involved in healing. My word of caution is that when you decide to work in a group or with an individual, make sure they have experience in betrayal. It is a different modality. It is a different realm. And again, as I mentioned at the top of the hour, it's kind of like for me going to a male gynecologist and him saying, "Oh, yeah, I know how your pregnancy feels." You do? Really?
Right.
How do you know that, type of thing. So there's something about reading something in a textbook, and there's something about feeling it and knowing what it feels like. And, that's one of the reasons that I personally am not a big fan of these new pop-up coaching platforms that allow you to communicate via text or via
Mhm.
email, because you don't know if you're actually speaking to someone or you're speaking to AI. And I'm sorry, AI, a lot of people love it and whatnot, but when it comes to betrayal and healing and emotions, yeah, a computer can't do that for you. It just can't. You need to look in somebody else's eyes and you need to know that somebody else has got you and they know
Right.
how you feel and they can say or not say, because sometimes it's just sitting in silence and knowing that the other person knows exactly how you feel.
Right. And my second question, and I don't know if anybody else, maybe somebody will have it and just not ask it. I even noticed even in in some of the betrayal Facebook groups I'm in. And I want to thank you for doing this because of what I'm going to say. I know that people's time is very valuable and everything like that, but it's very hard to find an affordable group. Even the people on Facebook, we're trying to separate where some of us are trying to leave. Like you said, sometimes the person wants out, and now you're trying to figure out how to do everything on one income. And it's like AA is donations and free, and other groups are donations and free. But when you get into betrayal and infidelity, it's two, three, $400 to do the groups, and you really can't afford it if you're trying to already figure out how you're going to afford life on one income. And like you said, you're a mess. You're a powdery mess. You're going through all of this, and you can't even find help. You can't find people to talk to. You feel like you're the only one going through this, but we're not. What is your suggestion on finding groups when you're limited financially? The only one that I found that is almost every day and free is the coda. And I do feel like I have some codependency based on what I went through, but I would like more of the betrayal and infidelity. But I do attend the codas because they're free and they're helpful. And I feel like the more I can get, the more I can push forward. You know what I mean? But yeah.
No. Absolutely. It's an absolutely great question. I'm going to answer it multifaceted just for the benefit of everyone so that they know. You do have a lot of resources online. You do. Absolutely. Do you need to sift through them to find what you need? Absolutely. I have a lot of resources online for you, completely free. Why? Because it's just wisdom and I share it freely. Absolutely. Does it then subsequently make an individual session with me cost prohibitive? Yes, it does. Absolutely. I only work with 8 clients, but my 8 clients help offset all that I give for free, including this session. With that being said, you do have a lot of resources. My resource, I have a YouTube channel. There's almost 100 videos on there. You're more than welcome to go through them at any time. There's no paywall. There's no email, subscription to it because you're already on my email list. Will you get all of my information? Yes, absolutely you will. You take what you can use and you toss the rest. Continue to reach out for those resources. But I can tell you this, for the most part, you get what you pay for. Meaning that if you pay $19 for a session, you're going to get more of a textbook type of thing. If you're comfortable with that, that is great. I understand what you're saying about the cost prohibitive. Coming to this group, I've had this session where I've had one other person. That one person got an hour of my time, which is normally, again, cost prohibitive, but they got to ask a zillion questions. We had a session because I'm here. I'm here for this hour for anybody that wants to come on and spend the hour with me in this environment. You have to find those people. The Facebook groups. I want you to be cautious with the Facebook groups because they can unleash. Meaning you have a lot of people on there that are so hurt and they are hurt. And what's happening is everybody's commingling without support. They're supporting each other, which is a good thing, but there's no boundaries to it. There's no guardrails to it. Yes, you can count on moderators to help, very much so. But being a moderator of the group Humans Navigating Betrayal. Unfortunately, it's about 9,100 souls in there. When I joined, it was less than 4,000. And yeah, 5,000 more souls. It is a good, clean group. What I mean by that is that there are 9 volunteer moderators within the group. And we attempt to keep it clean. Also, we count on the participants to also keep it clean. And what I mean by clean is, again, similar to what the rules are within this group. No hate speech, know your role, not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's good for what you need when your needs are not very specific. You can ask your questions. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no cap on the amount of what you can write. So if you want to write something very long, you can write something very long. You can give your details. You can post it anonymously. people will respond. Sometimes we can't control those responses. Yes, when we see something that's terrible, we will get that deleted. If we see something that's terrible that becomes offensive, we, of course, will reach out to the original poster to talk about it as well. Will the moderators reach out and offer what they have available? Sure, absolutely. And you can pick and choose what you'd like to do. That group I can suggest, because of course I moderate it as well. And you have an opportunity to connect with me there as well. Some really good books, because books can be affordable, either A, buy them used on eBay, or library. So as I mentioned, Man's Search for Meaning, this is really good. I know it's not about betrayal, but it's about betrayal. You can definitely apply it to that. The other great book that I would suggest is The Gift. Again, not specifically about betrayal, but once we go through betrayal, we read everything with a lens of betrayal. This is a wonderful book. This you can absolutely find. Let me move my fingers. You can find this at the library. Great book to read. This is good for your nightstand. And then, of course, there's mine. Dealing with the devastation of your partner's betrayal, what to do when your world falls apart. It's $14.95 on Amazon, and it is your guidebook. It's step-by-step kind of instructions, what to go through, similar if you were having a session with me. Journal prompts are in there, things to think about, things to help you get through. And then because of this, and I got so many questions about how do I talk? How do I talk to my kids, my parents, my in-laws, my friends, or others, because we go through that experience as well. So this $10 on Amazon as well. It's a good guidebook as well. Again, not filled with religious or any kind of jargon that way. So I hope that that helps kind of answer your question. Search it out. You will find what you need because you have thrown it out there. Hey, listen, I need a support group. Even if you throw it out into the Facebook groups, I'm in this area. Is anybody available to meet for a coffee? Now, you might not get professional help, but you'll get an understanding ear. Again, another plug for me, because my website is understandingear.com. But you're not alone. You're absolutely not alone. You'd be surprised. Look at the Me Too movement. It started with one hashtag and it exploded because people felt like they had a voice all of a sudden. So if you pop that into a support group and say, hey, listen, I need some support. Is anybody in my area? Anybody willing to get on a Zoom? I hope that helps. I see something popped up in the chat, so let me jump over there real quick. So I'm going to look off to the side so I can read the chat. So again, for the benefit of my editor, I'm going to read it out loud so that they know. We are talking to couple therapy, but whatever therapist suggested the practice together, it makes me more angry. For instance, during practicing the 5 love languages, I know that it's good to know each other's primary languages, but when the tension gets blowing up, I can't hold my anger. I destroyed all 12 apples throughout the kitchen last midnight. During his sleeping, I used the knife to stab the pumpkin. I'm a little bit worried that my sudden anger I can't handle at the moment. How can I handle this anger? Okay, I want to answer this question. The rage that you're feeling, it's normal. It absolutely is. Taking a knife to a pumpkin? Yeah, no, not quite. What I suggest for you, I'm looking for it. Give me 1 second, because I have it here in my office. Ugh. For my clients, this. Hope you can see it. It is a wiffle bat. Yes, this is my 6th one. I suggest you get it, grab a hold of it, and beat your couch, your sofa, your bed. Do this in the privacy of your own home without your children around because you will scare them. Beat, swing and swing and swing and swing and swing and swing until you are exhausted. You have got to get that anger out of you. Will it replenish? Yeah, but not as much as it did the first time. And each time you do this exercise, you're releasing more and more of that anger. and the anger will subside. The rage will subside. You will get there, but you got to get it out. That's what's happening. Your body's becoming the coffin for all of your emotions. Don't let them live there. Do not let them live there. Find an outlet for that, whether it's running, walking, grabbing a hold of something, breaking a couple of plates, whatever, because what's happening is it's stored inside of you and it's coming up and it needs to get out. It needs to get out. So absolutely do that. I hope that that is helpful in some way. Let me grab the next question. Currently not with my partner. We've been separated for a year now. However, we work together. I became her manager recently, and the person she cheated with me is a doctor. I need to face them every day. It is the hardest thing not to blow up. Do you have any tips on how to handle this? I'm feeling stuck. I can't leave my job after this wonderful promotion, but the anger is killing me. It's twofold. You had something devastating happen to you. And now you've had something wonderful happen to you with your promotion. And it's tainted. And that's bothering you as well. So with all that being said, and I know that you feel that you cannot leave, I'd suggest to you that you develop an exit plan. You might not implement it for another 6 months or another year, but just the act of writing out that resignation letter will be profound, because you will get out a lot of emotion on that. Because it's great that you got promoted, because it looks great on a resume. Don't sell yourself short. Do not sell yourself short. You can have that promotion for 6 months and then start looking for something else, because you have that resignation letter all ready to go. The only thing you need to do is put a date on it. Give that some thought. Try that exercise and see how that feels for you, because that will be very liberating for you, because in your mind, you will always know you have that letter waiting. It's right there. It's waiting. And what you've done is you've thrown it out to the universe and said, hey, listen, I'm going to resign from this job. I got what I needed from it. I got a promotion. It looks great on a resume, but I'm going to use that to go elsewhere so that you get away from the constant day-to-day hurt, because that's not good for you. And you know that. That's why you asked the question. I hope that helps. All righty, let's keep going. I bought your book during the holiday season and read it all in the hotel for 10 days. It was really helpful. Thank you. I truly appreciate that. Thank you. That's a good idea. I felt a little bit released after throwed all the apples. I should get the bat. Yes, this is like $6 on Amazon. Yeah, as I mentioned, it's the 6th one that is here for clients. I, of course, went through a dozen of them as well. Yeah, it releases. You'd be surprised. It seems kind of silly the first time, but once you get into it, oh, yes, absolutely. Your pillows won't like you, but that's okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. Need to leave. Have a great evening, everyone. I hope you will all have the best things. Okay. Beautiful. All right. We have 2 minutes left. Anybody have any final thoughts? All righty. Our next session, so that you know, it is posted on Meetup. I do try to make sure that we have them. The next one is an important one. It's really, really important because it is right before Valentine's Day. And Valentine's Day, other than Discovery Day, is probably one of the hardest days. Very much so. As everybody else is celebrating love and whatnot, all you want to do is just like, oh, please, I don't need this. Our meeting will be on February 12th at 8 p.m. So February 12th at 8 p.m. The one in March, again, I usually do this on the second Monday of the month, but I do have a speaking engagement on that day. So it'll be on March 4th on March 4th. So it's only 3 weeks in between, so that you have that. And then I believe the April one is already posted for the 8th of April as well. Keep an eye out for things. I do workshops. And what I do is, because I have an academy for members, paying members, what I do is I usually record them, and I invite participants to come free to see the recording of it, of whatever course I'm teaching or keynote speech that I'm practicing. You get to see it for free. And the only thing that I ask is for feedback on what I've presented, and any kind of, mention on any kind of social media that you saw me, that what I said was helpful, or whatever it might be. Your reviews and your participation really fuel what I do. And as I said, my clients, my 8 clients, in essence, because they're seeing me one-on-one, they're paying for the opportunity for me to provide all of the rest of it for free. Because that's my goal, is really, truly to be a resource, not a sales pitch. I want to give this information because I remember how it felt. I remember it all too distinctly, the hurt, and then I remember how it felt when I was finally released. And I got to the other side of betrayal, and it's beautiful over here. I will tell you that. It is beautiful over here because you step into who you were meant to be. And it's glorious. So everyone, have a good night. Thank you so much for participating. If you can drop a review into Meetup, I appreciate that as well. Meetup sends you an email about a donation. You're more than welcome to. If not, that's absolutely fine as well. The donation, just so that you know, is so that I can provide one-on-one treatment to one individual that is selected every single year. In addition, my book sales, yeah, they don't go in my pocket either. Last year, at the end of the year, I selected one person who had purchased my book, left a review, and they got the proceeds of the book sales for that year. So I sent them a check. Again, it wasn't designed to be a commercial or an academic success. It was designed to be helpful. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.